You do have gains at 100%, right?
Yeah.
Roger. Your heading is 90 to the boat right now. You're looking starboard side of the boat.
Yeah, you guys get over to the starboard side, you can come back towards the middle.
Now you're headed port.
Yeah, Herc, can you go out to the end of your tether, put some strain on the back of Argus? Okay, that's looking good. Hang out right there. Okay, Argus is going down.
All right,
Mark,
all
you want to
right.
send either Dan or
We
Josh
are
up?
officially on a
Can you
dive.
repeat that? Send either Dan or Josh up.
Am I the only one on SPO
Okay,
right now?
Dan's headed your way.
Yeah, it's set.
right. For those tuning in at home, we are back on a dive finally after a little bit of hiatus. We had some weather conditions we had to work through. As we all know here in our time, and for those who've been watching, weather does happen. Conditions aren't always favorable for our dives, but today we lucked out and we were able to squeeze in a dive. We are at Endeavor Node at the moment. Took us a while to get here from our previous location, and as we've been assessing weather, we've been able to put together a plan, and we got a number of things that we're going to be doing on this dive. We are going to be deploying a beacon that's going to help us later land a toolbox. We also have some instrumentation that we will be setting up. We'll be receiving some, bringing some back up with us, as well as seismometer that we will be deploying on the seafloor as well, and I believe possibly taking some core samples. So, number of tasks on this dive plan. If you're tuning in, you can watch us as we do our descent to the seafloor at the moment. Head over to the nautiluslive.org website and leave in your questions. Anything you want to know about this current mission or anything else that we've been working on throughout this expedition, leave your questions in the chat, and we will hopefully get to them as quick as we can as we make our descent here. And no, I don't think that's a New York accent I have. I wouldn't describe my accent as a New York accent. I don't think we have any New York folks here on this expedition, but definitely not a New York accent. I won't even attempt to give you my best New York accent.
I was just about
I'm horrible.
to ask. You got one?
I'm horrible with accents. That's one thing I can't do.
I can't do accents either at all.
My British accent will sound hella African. my New York accent, I don't even know what that will sound like. It'll probably sound country. So sorry, no accents for you here. This is what you get.
I don't know, Nico. I think you've got a pretty good Canadian accent.
75 meters, you guys ready for
Hey,
control?
come on.
Ready. Okay, go ahead and bump it.
Just because I don't say garage.
Garage. Oh man. And Nico, did I miss anything on that
Thanks, going off comms.
dive plan
Thanks, Mark.
overview?
No, that was a pretty excellent summary. This is more of a setup dive for us. So like you said, that USBL is going to help us guide down our tool basket, which we plan on deploying right after recovering the ROV. And we'll leave the USBL down there because it's also going to help us land the mud mat that's being deployed off of the cable ship when they make their way out here. Other than that, we're pretty much just setting up for the recovery of some instruments we have down there and scoping some landing zones.
Nice.
And as you mentioned, we may have the opportunity to take a couple core samples before our long ascent.
Mm-hmm. How deep are we going on this dive?
This is a deep one, actually. This is 2323.
23. Nice. So we'll have a ways to go here on our descent. And yes, cheers. Yes, somebody recognized my voice. This is Maynard here on the chat with a non-New York accent. But yeah, our main agenda will be deploying and recovering items. I don't think we're going to have much time to do a lot of strolling there. If you're looking to see some hydrothermal vent activity, that would probably be on the next dive. I think we got a lot of mapping out that we got to do on this dive here to make sure that our instrumentations are set up properly. So mapping out locations and probably getting a lot of coordinates together. So not a lot of strolling. It's going to be all data collection and making sure that we have accurate descriptions of our locations here on the seafloor.
It's a business dive.
Business, all business on this one. But it is good to be back here monitoring a dive. It feels like we've been on a 2-3 day weather hiatus. So for those that have been patiently waiting, we are glad to be back with you all. And our pilots are so happy. They finally have something to do.
I was worried for them for a little bit. I was worried for them.
It got so bad we were watching Weekend at Bernie's last night.
You weren't.
That's how bad it got.
I believe we are
Sorry,
not.
no, we do not have fortunate time for that. So we'll get to the bottom as quick as you can. Engage.
Hey, Greg, when you get a chance, could I get you to power, or to give me power to the sextant?
Right.
So Nika, no vertical transit on our way down.
Yes, unfortunately, with the lost time this morning due to the weather, we'd really like to get this dive done as quick as possible, and then we will head over to main endeavor and hopefully get some more time there.
Nice.
There's our classic ground fault.
What kind of descent speed are we getting?
We're pushing for about 28, 30. You went orange.
And the mapper got on there?
Yep.
Mapper is on.
No, because
Cool.
it'll slide down. Oh, maybe it slides down. Now you're in the red. Yep. Because if you go to the Herc alarms page, it says Argus has a leak. I don't think there's any leak detect in the J-box. Well, the Argus primary comp looks good.
Has anyone here seen Dr. Ballard's documentary on Amelia Earhart? Does anybody know about that? Anything about it?
Chris lived it.
Lived it. Not I.
Sorry, I'm not an SPL.
Oh, did you say yes, Chris?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris was there.
I was there.
Oh, you were there. Oh, could you tell us about it when you have a chance?
Yeah, so we went on this expedition and, oh, sorry, let me let them finish their thing here.
Yep.
Would it be possible to point the camera up a little bit and maybe turn the lasers on? Awesome. Thank you.
Do you want it zoomed in a bit?
Maybe a little bit to get the knife out of the way, and that'd be perfect.
Do your thing, Tammy.
Thank you so much. That's perfect.
Happy?
I'm happy.
So yeah, the Amelia Earhart thing. What do you want to know?
Oh, just anything about it, actually. I'm actually interested in knowing. Somebody had mentioned if anybody was involved in that or had seen the documentary.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It's kind of a broad question. We went to,
There was a boat.
yeah,
They searched for her.
we took this boat and we went to this island
And they searched for a thing.
and we searched for Amelia Earhart. Yeah, it was a neat cruise. It was kind of different, and we were right up on the side of the island. Spent a lot of time looking at the slopes. It was Gardner Island or Nikamororu, whichever you prefer. And we spent a lot of time looking at the slope. Unfortunately, it was a little bit tricky because they had the shipwreck of the Norwich City there, which had wrecked a few years before Amelia Earhart crashed or was lost or whatever. So, you know, you'd go around and you'd get excited and you'd find some piece of debris and you'd be like, no, that's probably from the ship, you know.
Yeah.
So we had, yeah, they colonized it at one point. Yeah.
How long were you out on the expedition?
I don't know, 2-3 weeks. I don't remember exactly, something like that.
Okay. Anything interesting other than not finding Amelia Earhart's plane?
The island, the island itself was super cool. Like, I mean, it is the truest definition of a deserted island in the middle of the Pacific, right? So
yeah,
we I got a little bit of a chance to walk around on there and see the coconut crabs and big lagoon in the middle, and
oh wow,
it was really pretty amazing. Yeah,
completely uninhabited island.
Yeah, well, there was an attempt to colonize it, but there just wasn't enough water sources, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting.
You have to live exclusively off of coconuts.
Yeah.
There were a lot of coconuts, though. So.
Oh, nice, I bet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place. It was a nice place to spend. What, that cruise? That was 2019?
2019, okay.
About this time in 2019.
Okay. Not long ago at all. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
George is currently recommending that we drink salt water. He's that's his expert advice up there.
That's a good plan.
George is always looking out for us.
He's always looking out for us, yeah.
I don't know, not for me, I don't think.
You were on that cruise too, weren't you, George? Yeah, it was real strange operating that close to the island. You're muted, Greg.
It's a fun island to go to, though.
Yeah.
I was not on that cruise.
Were you not?
Nope.
I sailed with you. I must have sailed with you that year on Subsea then.
I spent 6 months looking for Amelia Earhart with a different group.
Ah, yeah.
How many missions have actually gone out looking for Amelia Earhart? I feel like there's been tons.
It's in the double digits.
Those things are just so fascinating though, right? I mean, you think about all the ships and planes that have disappeared in the ocean and the fact that we still can't locate even things like Malaysia, what's that, Malaysia flight?
Yeah, yeah, even when you know.
A plane is very small.
Yeah. If you look at some of the sonar data and you start to get an idea of the size of features that you can resolve and things like that, you start to realize that finding an airplane is very difficult.
Yeah, we were doing side scan, and I just remember in some of the shadows, because we weren't doing overlapping passes, some of the shadows, like you could hide like a couple of aircraft carriers, you know? So like an airplane, no problem.
Yeah. In just the shadows. That's pretty crazy. That's crazy. Wow.
We did find some rocks that looked very much like an airplane, though.
Yeah. On the Amelia Earhart thing, we found this an aluminum tube that looked like a, you know, a wing fuel tank or a fairing or something like that. And everybody got very excited for a minute, but it turns out that was from a It was a side scan.
Oh, nice.
From a previous expedition.
Even
So,
better.
so where would sonar technology need to get to be able to get us to a point where we can locate things like that much easier?
I don't know that it's even.
I don't know.
You're really. I don't know that the technology could develop to that point because you're starting to reach the limits of the physics.
I think you need a new technology.
Yeah.
Or more money.
Or more money.
Yeah.
That's
Or more
generally
time.
how it's-
Yeah, I was gonna say or more time.
Yeah.
Time
Well, the
plus
two
money.
time plus money.
Yeah.
Well, we mowed a swath about the size of Connecticut when we were
Did you
searching.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but the knowledge actually about Amelia Earhart is all over the map. They don't even know how much fuel she left with. There's a discrepancy of like 44 gallons, which is huge.
Yeah.
They did find a piece of aluminum on Nikamororu, also known as Gardner, that had a hole pattern which could have been a that was manufactured for her plane in Miami, but it's unknown. And then they also think that they might have found metatarsals, phalanges, finger bones.
Really?
But those got sent to the British History Museum and lost.
Bummer.
Wow.
I mean, it's exciting, but there were a lot of people on that island. Like,
Well, that's the other thing. There were a lot of people on that island.
yeah, like people lived there for a while. The shipwreck happened there, and so like they'd find like perfume bottles and things on the island, but like one of the sailors from the ship could have easily had that.
One of the colonists, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that island is pretty far out from the course that she was supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Plus, the Lockheed Electra, if landed properly in water, could float for up to 9 days. So, you know, that opens.
That long, huh?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of amazing.
9 days?
I guess the fuel tanks maybe have the sufficient buoyancy.
I don't know. I don't know if that's specific to her model because they had so many fuel tanks in there that it wasn't like she and Noonan were sitting next to each other in co-pilot seat.
Yeah.
They had to communicate by passing notes via broomstick over fuel tanks. So, so like with all that extra fuel tanks, would it have floated for even longer? I don't know.
That sounds like some of the airplanes I fly. You have the tube that you yell in to talk to the back, you know?
That's basically it, yeah.
So if we've reached our limits on sonar technology, what do you envision? What would be the vision of some new technology that would help us to be able to locate
more money,
things like that on the sea?
More money, yeah. You're getting into science fiction now.
Yeah, well, it really is pretty tricky because there's not much that penetrates water to any kind of range. Optical stuff is very limited, as we see here.
Yeah.
And even if you are still talking electromagnetic, I mean, most frequencies, the electromagnetic spectrum don't penetrate that far.
Oh, look at that guy.
That was cool.
What squid was that?
Zeus might be bigger than they appear.
Squid?
I think some of the real low frequency electromagnetic waves will penetrate pretty far, but if you start to get into too low frequency, then you start to lose out on resolution again. So you start to hit the same problem.
Yeah.
Oh, calamari.
The only other way I can imagine is more post-processing on the sonar data. start to apply some machine learning type of solutions.
Oh, machine learning.
But you can only do so much if there's only so much information there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in the next 10, 15 years, like what technology would look like.
Yeah, I could imagine something where you like do some kind of high resolution mapping with laser or visual, and then survey the same area with multi-beam and come up with some training data sets and maybe be able to estimate the seafloor a little better from the multi-beam data. That way you could still get higher resolution and some range, but...
You need to speed up. Slow down.
Hey, Greg, did we end up getting power to the sextant?
Yes.
Could we power cycle it? I'm not getting a connection on it.
It's that one, right? Yep. Okay, it's power cycled.
Okay, I'll give it a second and try it.
Right.
Thanks.
But, you know, the recent search for MH370, that was done with, you know, the latest sonar scanning technology, using the Hugin AUVs, you know, 4 of them I think they had on that boat.
Yeah. And
they couldn't even locate a 787. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's always a trade-off between survey swath size and resolution.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So and if you're looking for something the size of an airplane, your resolution has to be pretty high. So you have to, you take a big hit on your swath. So it takes forever to cover.
Oh, so you got to compensate one or the other?
Yeah, you generally have that trade-off. And that's, like I said, it's not a limited technology, it's really the physics.
Yeah. The technology might push, you know, higher resolution at higher speeds. That might happen.
Yeah, a little bit.
With the new synthetic aperture sonars, those things are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So with those tuning in at home, we are at Endeavour Node. We're going to be going to about 2,300 meters, I believe, on this dive. As far as seeing aquatic life, who knows what we'll see as we make our way down. We just got a little squid cameo a couple minutes ago, and I'm sure we'll come across a lot of other deep sea organisms as we make our way down. But we're going to be going down to 2,300 meters. Got a number of tasks that we'll be performing on this dive, including setting up our beacon, which will help us navigate a toolbox later on. And we have some seismic instruments that we will be deploying and setting up on the seafloor as well.
So the deployment of the new seismic instruments won't happen on this dive.
On this dive.
It's essentially, we're getting a landing zone for the mud mat and our tool basket. The tool basket will have the new seismometer in it, and it's the same tool basket that will recover the old stuff with. So we're going down to map out some landing zones and then prep the old instruments for recovery. But no instruments changing hand here
on this dive. One. Just mapping out the locations and coordinates. Will we be using the same toolbox that we used a few days ago when we deployed, I think we deployed some of our traps in the toolbox?
Yeah, so we used it to deploy the remote access sampler.
Yeah, the samplers, yeah.
And a camera at main Endeavour field. And so that's the same one. And actually when we deploy it this time, we won't even be recovering the tool basket. We're going to leave that for the cable ship to recover.
Gotcha. It'll be their responsibility.
This will be our last necessary use of it on this cruise. And the cable ship has a bit more room than us.
Yeah. How big is that cable ship?
God, I think it's
Pretty
the,
big.
I think it's the largest or second largest in the world, right?
Really?
Cable laying
Yeah.
vessel. It's
believe
it's huge.
Oh,
We'll see it.
oh
Get
yeah.
nice and close.
Okay. I've been hearing about this mysterious cable ship, so I'll be looking forward to
We're going to be too close.
review.
Nice and too close.
It's a nice ship.
I had a job in with it in February where we were on a tugboat and
Pushing it?
you should have seen how close we got then. I swear I could have.
That was my first ever trip offshore, was on the Innovator.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, in Singapore in 2000.
Wow.
Yeah. Super nice boat.
So Ollie, does it go all over the world then?
No, this one now sits on the west coast, and it's on a cable maintenance agreement. So it sits there fully manned up on a 12-hour call out. So if a cable breaks, fiber optic cable, then it goes off and does the repair.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to be in high demand for sure.
Its overall length is 145.5 meters.
How long is the Nautilus?
I believe it's like 200 feet, 210 feet, I believe.
Yeah, I go with 210. We call it a ship. Some might call it a boat.
Yeah, we've definitely been using ship, boat interchangeably a lot.
Ollie has a trick for telling the difference.
What? Ship and a boat?
Yeah.
Do I?
You told me.
Did I? Oh,
No.
I've forgotten.
Is it the one like a ship can carry a boat, but a boat can't carry a ship or something like that?
That sounds good. We'll go with that one.
Yeah, no, that wasn't me.
Well, we've got 2 small boats, so this makes it a ship, yeah?
Yeah.
This is a ship.
Mm-hmm.
This is a ship. A small ship, but it's a ship.
There are ship-moving ships, too, and those are really
Ship-moving
impressive.
ships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could just save all the trouble and just say a vessel.
That's not as fun.
Nope, there's a jellyfish.
And yes,
fish.
for our viewer at home, nope, you could always ask these questions. That's not a problem. Yeah, we do get this about Argus and Hercules. Yes, they are deployed together. Argus does work as our eyes in the sky to help us kind of give an overview, ego look upon Hercules and all this activity on the seafloor. Also helps to release some tension on the cable.
Just kind of
because
ripping
they're all connected to the ship.
Yeah, and then it tried to bring me back around this way, and I fought back that way.
Yeah.
So
weird.
And
sorry, Maynard.
Oh no problem. I'm going through this. It's got a compounded question here, so I'm trying to read through cable attachment on Argus and Hercules. I believe. Ooh, it's copper or fiber cable.
Both.
That's both, right? It's a both.
Copper for the power, fiber for the cameras and telemetry.
That is right. Yes. How much delay between operator command and movement in the ROV?
Very little. Negligible. Yeah.
Yeah, negligible.
There is a delay, but it's microseconds. It's a very small amount.
It might be on the prism readout.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Edit.
And the HDG that you see there, I believe, is that for heading. As you look there on, if you're looking on feed 1 and feed 2, you'll see that notes there that give us information about our depth and location. And HDG is our heading. You'll also see what dive number we're currently on, which is 1880. and our coordinates for our location.
880 dives. I'm slowing down again. I can't seem to find the right.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm just creeping up or creeping down.
Mm-hmm. Change it on here a bit. See if that does anything. Okay.
Let's do this. We're gonna just go. Stop.
And as far as windows here in the control van, no, we don't have any windows here. We are cooped away from the outside world whenever we're in the control van. We don't know if it's night or day.
It's better that way.
Much better that way. If you actually look on, if you're on our quad feed and you go over to channel 3, you could actually get a whole view of us here in the control van. That's me waving at you right there. Our pilot's there at the front row. As you can see, got Chris over there on nav in the corner. He's waving at you over here, and then us in the back row. But yes, this is our dark home, our control van. Oh, there's another view, sweet. Yep, you can get a good overview of all of us in here on channel 3. But yes, no windows in here. We like it that way.
We like the dark for the monitors.
Ooh, this is interesting. This is an interesting question.
Thanks, George.
Before the Nautilus was the Nautilus, and it was the East German ship that was built in 1967, I believe. Was it a spy ship? Does anybody know the history behind Nautilus before it was an exploration vessel?
I believe it was a scientific.
Or maybe that's a top
I think it was
classified
a
information.
hydrographic survey. Was my understanding.
Mm.
Should we do a gauge check?
Sure.
Probably a good time.
It's a great time. Always got time for a gauge check.
Oh, I love gauge checks.
Said no one ever.
Ooh, look at that thing.
Found a thing.
You have to love gauge checks.
Found a jelly thing.
Jelly
It's
thing.
so red.
It's really bright red.
Yeah, that's something you'll see a lot the deeper you get, is that organisms will be either pitch black or bright red. And red, that's because red is the first wavelength that is no longer visible. So essentially by turning yourself bright red, you're no longer visible to other organisms. And a lot of the species down here have lost the ability to see red because there's no red light unless it's something like what we're bringing down right now that has a little bit of red spectrum in it.
We actually have a lot of light. I think it's like, I forget what Dan said. It's something, it's a lot of car headlights.
Yeah, he had an exact number.
I know, I forgot what it was though.
The amount of lights on Hercules?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought it was like, wasn't it like 16 or something like that?
Not the amount of lights, the amount of light output. I think.
Oh, light output.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and
The luminous.
Yeah.
Right, and referencing it to like a car headlight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did make a reference to that. I forgot. I wanted to say so it was like 200 or something like that.
It was up there.
Ooh. So this is for our expert pilots down there. Viewers asking, how do pilots train? Do they train on simulators like civilian aviation pilots? And if they don't operate for a while, do they require to retrain?
Video games.
Well,
Lots and lots of video games.
They're expert Xbox players down there. But we've had people training here while we've been on our mission. We're always in training mode. Everybody's you have to be hands-on to do this, right?
Usually you get thrown in at the deep end in the ROV world.
Mm-hmm.
We like to eat our young.
It's very much trial by fire.
Yeah, right.
Pass fail.
Yeah. And you need that because it's hard to simulate this experience. You have to be in the environment.
Some big companies have some really fancy simulators. I've never been on one. Yeah, that they'll train pilots on.
Yeah, there are a couple of schools you can go to for it. I don't think there's any schools in the U.S. I think there's, one in Canada and, one in...
Sure, there's a school in the U.S.
There's probably one in the South, yeah.
There must be.
There's got to be.
Texas somewhere. Or Louisiana. I don't know.
Ooh, this is a great question, Ashley. How about we're talking about visible light spectrums here from the organisms. Two-part question. One, how much do the lights on Hercules actually affect deep-sea organisms, and can they also view the lasers on board?
That's a good question. So the lights, I imagine, have a pretty big effect on a lot of the organisms. So you'll see sometimes fish will get kind of stunned by them, or they'll be attracted to them. But depending on how deep we are, some organisms don't necessarily have traditional eyes that they would necessarily be able to see our lights with, but they probably have some sort of photoreceptor. And I don't know how our lights would impact them, but it's a really dark area, and we bring down a lot of light, so it definitely...
It's got to impact them in some
it definitely has some sort of impact on them.
But their eyes also aren't adapted like ours to where they're necessarily filtering in light, because they're used to being in dark spaces already, right? So
yes,
it's not as much need to be able to block out or filter in light like we would with our corneas.
Yep. But then there's also, because of that, then a lot of the organisms are specially adapted to picking up on little point sources of light from bioluminescence. So then something like our big powerful lights is probably just swamping all of that out and just messing it all up for them for a second. But yeah, and you can tell sometimes in Argus view you can see bigger fish kind of stalking just out of frame, and so they might be trying to use our lights to hunt in. I've seen fish do that a couple of times on dives too, where kind of like when you go diving, if you're doing a night dive and you flash your flashlight at a fish and it gets stunned for a second and you'll see a bigger fish swoop in. So some of the animals down here will use that as a tactic too, to their advantage.
Yeah.
And as far as the lasers go, it's green. in theory, I think a lot of them would be able to see that spectrum of light, but I'm not really sure. Do you know what wavelength of light our lasers output?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm guessing that a lot of them would be able to see in that green spectrum. But I don't
We
know for
have
sure.
in more shallow water had like I think it was a yellow goby chase the lasers.
Oh, really?
That was kind of fun.
Kind of like your cat.
Going back to the ROV schools in the U.S., there's some in South Carolina and Texas, as well as some technical institutions that will train you.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. No, seriously, there's a lot of people who've had their dreams ruined because these trading places will take your money quite happily, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you a career afterwards.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a career in ROVs, your best bet is to either go to college or go and get a trade, an engineering trade. Not go to a 1 month ROV school.
But then I think a lot of people don't realize the like time away from home, travel, you know, like
Correct, yeah.
it's
Pretty grueling.
it's neat, but it's got its costs.
Mm-hmm.
I think one year I slept in like 17 different places.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
17
like,
That's
different
pretty
places.
good, man. That's
that was
What's the most time you spent at sea in 1 year?
over 6 months.
Oh, wow.
What, collectively or in one trip?
Both.
My longest trip was actually on the Innovator.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, 3.5 months at sea.
Ooh.
Over
3.5
Christmas
months.
and New Year as well.
Oh no.
I know.
Damn, 3.5 months at sea.
At sea, yeah.
That's crazy.
My longest time in one stint was 3 months as well.
Yeah?
And then probably overall about 4.5, 5 months of the year.
Getting towards half
Try
the
not
year.
to do more than 6 months a year.
Yeah, my longest was a 6-month trip.
Oh.
That's brutal.
Ooh, 6 straight months?
January 6th to June 28th.
Not that you were counting.
Yeah, I still remember the exact days. Yeah.
Which is also funny thinking a couple of days ago, we've been on the ship for what, 14 days, and we saw trees and all of us got excited.
Oh yeah, we got super excited.
It gets, ship life gets a little bit intense pretty quickly. So 6 months out is,
Yeah.
That is when
I
you're
don't know
down
how
on
you're
weather
still here.
anyway.
yeah.
I think something that nobody ever really thinks about, even when you're out here, is that there's no quiet. Like once you leave the dock,
No,
there's no quiet.
Mhm.
There's always noise.
Constant noise. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you're hearing
While
something.
Even in
While
your
you're-
sleep.
yeah,
while
you're
If you can
In
get
fact,
to sleep.
I like the noise. I like the white noise when I sleep. I sleep better on ships than I do at home.
Yeah.
I have a white noise machine for home.
Do you?
Yeah,
Right.
I just adopted that in the past year. And
I don't know if that's good or bad now where you have to have a noise. That means maybe you either spend too much time at sea.
Do you have the ship's engine set? Passage, DP.
You got your headphones on. Oh, what do you listen to? Classical music? Oh, no, just engine sound effects.
It's the sound of a bow thruster.
Yeah, a cavitating bow thruster.
Cavitating brow. Oh, fantastic.
It's got to be tough for
Not off in minutes.
it's got to be tough too when you spend that much time too. I mean, everybody's got. I'm sure most people here got families and wives or husbands or children at home. Being able to spend that time away from families is also very grueling as well.
Yeah. But on the flip side, when we're home, we're home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no going to work 9 to 5. We're there.
That's
sometimes.
very. And for our viewer that's asking about how if surface movements aboard the Nautilus here affect Hercules and Argus, yes, they absolutely do. That's part of the reason why we have to analyze weather conditions before we do every single dive. Because if you ever watch on our live feeds as we are deploying the ROVs, we have to use our cranes and the winch on board here to be able to deploy them out into the water. And we're getting a lot of surface movement on Nautilus. It makes it very difficult to deploy our ROVs. And we said those copper and fiber optic cables are very sensitive. Adding any tension to those could be very disruptive. And so in order to mitigate that, we wait for calm waters in order to be able to deploy our ROVs. So they're very determining, they're big determining factors in each of our missions for sure.
The wire cam is getting washed.
Yeah, the overboard, yeah, okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, and then as the ship goes up and down, it pulls up and down on the cable, which is attached to Argus. And so Argus goes up and down. Herc does not go up and down because we're connected to Argus through a neutrally buoyant tether, and the idea is that Argus is supposed to separate Hercules from the motion of the ship, the heaving of the ship.
Have we ever looked into heave compensating the winch?
Yeah. I don't know.
Don't really need it.
I mean, with this, you definitely don't need it with this system, but the more moving parts anything has, the more maintenance it needs, the easier it is to go wrong.
Sure.
Ooh.
I imagine you could do it with this winch, though. I don't know. No, the traction winch, I doubt that can change direction very quickly at all.
No, I think I've seen a traction winch that actually like expands and contracts.
Oh, wow. Cool.
But I wouldn't want anything to do with it.
No.
This is an interesting question. Actually, I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this too. Do we ever disinfect or inspect the ROVs before different dive locations in terms of accidentally introducing invasive species or species that should be in different areas?
I mean, the ROVs get a pretty good wash down in between dives, so I don't think that we don't necessarily do a thorough inspection, but ROV team does a really good job of pulling off hitchhikers beforehand.
It also depends on like samples and stuff. I think Steve's going to wash out the Niskins before our next dive. So that way there's no potential of any contamination in the upcoming sample.
But for the most part, I mean, the region that we're in terms of proximity where we're at, likelihood of really invasive species in this area is pretty limited. I mean, we're here in the North Pacific, so you're going to tend to find
and we're in a
similar
very
wildlife
small
in the same
range
area.
of the North Pacific.
All of the problems with introducing invasive species into different parts of the world are from ships.
It's usually ballast.
Ballast water, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually, ships that move products from A to B, cargo ships and tankers and that kind of thing. And there's very strict rules now governing how ships handle their ballast water to stop that from happening. Cause, they've
been a lot of invasive shellfish species that have been introduced into other areas, clams, and that can be very damaging to certain locations. But yeah, those are usually migrating from very far distances and very different habitats as well.
I mean, the other good thing is that as far as our ROVs are concerned, usually we have substantial time in between dives, and so anything aquatic would usually be killed off anyway.
Oh, I was hoping I had Dan as a co-pilot, but you know.
Right. I can go get him.
I almost have this dialed in. Once I have it dialed in, then sure.
Then we can go to sleep.
Mm. Who on board here is Scuba certified?
Me.
Me.
I am.
Probably not anymore. I'm sure those
Oh,
things
yeah.
expire.
Yeah. Good point.
They actually,
Totally depends on where
Yeah,
you
they
want to
don't
go
expire.
scuba diving.
Yeah.
yeah, they actually don't expire. But
Okay, then
they'll-
I'm certified.
they would heavily, highly recommend you to
A
get
refresher,
a refresher
yeah.
course.
Refresher course.
Yeah.
Shrimp.
Shrimp.
Oh,
Mhm. But
Just trying to
scuba
keep-
certification is not a requirement to be on board the Nautilus.
Should be, though.
Should be, yeah.
We're gonna make dive gear.
Wait, was everyone certified?
Sounded
Not
like
everybody.
it.
I am not certified as of yet. But I am. I actually just scheduled my certification 2 days ago.
Nice.
So when I get back to land on the 18th, 19th, and 25th and 26th, I'll be doing my 4 dives.
Where,
Gotcha.
where are you doing it?
I'm going to be doing it off of Redondo Beach area in Los Angeles.
So when you get back to land, you'll learn how to be underwater.
Yes. They originally had me scheduled for the 6th, which was literally the day after we got back, and I was like, I need a couple weeks to get reintroduced to land first. But yes, I was actually supposed to do my certification this month until I found out about this expedition, so I had to postpone my plans. But scuba certification was something I've been wanting to do for a while.
well, you're doing a lot of dives right now. They're just not scuba.
Yeah, they're just not
Just different.
physically in the water.
Yeah. You
I
don't
Vir-
I
virtual
saw
dives.
bull sharks on my 3rd dive ever.
Mhm,
That was pretty,
Terrifying?
yeah, it was a little terrifying.
mhm,
Yeah, bull sharks are not the type that you really want to mess with.
mhm.
Not that I have a list of sharks that I do want to mess with, but
But that's
Figured.
top of the not
yeah,
mess
that's
with
that's-
list.
that's
definitely
really up
on the-
there. Yeah.
on the non-mess list.
Yeah, as a rule, don't mess with the sharks.
Mhm.
As a rule, don't mess with the marine life.
Yeah,
Put that out there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Don't mess with wild animals in general.
Yeah.
I just saw a video of a woman trying to get a close-up picture of a bison at Yellowstone and got charged. And everybody was like, play dead, play dead.
I don't think that doesn't register. Hoods don't care if you're playing dead.
Yeah, rule of thumb, stay far away from wild animals.
In Florida, there was an endangered gopher tortoise that people kept. You'd get like somebody would show up on social media, someone throwing it into the water because they're saving the turtle,
Oh,
and like a
Oh.
tortoise can't swim.
Oh my
Like
god.
A, it's illegal to touch them. B, you know,
The
They
tortoise.
threw a tortoise in the water.
Oh
yeah,
my
to save
goodness.
it.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Oh my goodness.
There are some special people on this planet, aren't there?
PSA, don't throw tortoises in water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Endangered.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially endangered.
PSA, don't touch endangered species.
Mhm.
But if you are going to do it, record yourself doing it so that way, you know,
You get in trouble.
you can
Yeah.
get in trouble for it. Yeah.
And post it on social media.
Mhm.
Super close. I think 50 is where I need to be, like 50, 49, but we'll see. We're not even going to make it to the bottom.
We're not, are we?
No.
It's going to be the...
We're going to be like just there. It's 28 minutes to bottom, but we got to stop and check stuff out.
It's
And
going to be the B shape.